Now you probably know I use quite a lot of different Leica cameras, but one camera I've never used is the Leica R series cameras. So in today's video I'm going to share with you the closest camera I've got to a Leica R camera, and that is the Minolta XD7 or XD11, depending on where you live. Hello, welcome back, Matt from MrLeica.com. So the Minolta XD7 is actually very similar to the Leica R4, but before we get to that, let's just step back a bit. So some of my favourite cameras are the Leica M series cameras, which started kind of mid-1950s after the Barnack Leicas, which are also amazing. Both Leica M cameras and the Barnack Leicas are rangefinder cameras. In the late 1960s, Leica also made an SLR camera called the Leica Flex SL, which is like a full mechanical SLR camera to compete with other SLR cameras, which is becoming a more popular camera system. Now in the mid-1970s, Leica teamed up with Minolta, the Japanese company, to come together to make the Leica R3 and the Minolta XE. You may be aware of the collaboration between Minolta and Leica when they made the Leica CL, which is the small camera which I've done a review of before. This is very similar. So the Leica R3 and the Minolta XE share many similar common parts, and then the chassis of the R3 is basically based on the XE, and so then that kind of relationship followed on to the Leica R4 camera, which is basically sharing the common parts of the Minolta XD7, which is a camera I have. Although the Leica R4 looks slightly different on the outside, the basic chassis and also the innards are identical to this Minolta. Now, because this has got a Minolta name on instead of a Leica name on, you can pick up Minolta cameras like crazy cheap. I picked up this XD7 because I was testing Minolta lenses on my Leica CL camera. I've used Minolta rangefinder lenses on the Leica CL camera before, but I wanted to get closer than how close rangefinder lenses could focus, so I picked up some Minolta MD lenses, and some of them came with cameras, because the cameras are very affordable. So this video is basically first impressions of an XD7, and if it is that close to a Leica R camera, would I recommend buying this instead of getting a Leica R camera? Now I can't speak specifically from a Leica R point because I don't own a Leica R, but I can tell you kind of first impressions of the Minolta and whether you should get one or consider one, particularly because of the low price point, and also because some of the Minolta lenses are very similar to the Leica R series lenses. So again, you're getting amazing value for money, going kind of the Minolta route, if you don't mind the Minolta written on the front instead of Leica. I know some people prefer to have the Leica logo or whatever on their camera, but for me personally, I don't really mind. As long as it takes nice pictures, I'm totally fine with it. So I guess a few quick features. The Leica R4 and Minolta XD7 both have auto exposure mode, and they both have a Copal vertical electronic shutter. So you can see the vertical shutter there. So what do I think of the Minolta? First impressions, to give you kind of something as a benchmark, I use Nikon SLR cameras, such as the FE, FM, FE2, and then also I use Leica rangefinder M film cameras, and obviously Barnack Leicas. So when you pick up a Minolta XD7 or XD11 as they're sometimes called, does it feel like holding a Leica in terms of the movement and the precision? No, it feels really rubbery and kind of loose and not very impressive. I'd say a Nikon FM or any of those Nikon cameras are far superior to this in terms of like the crisp feeling when you're taking a picture. And the screen isn't too bad. It's got like a micro prism in the middle, and I prefer a split prism, so I don't think that's particularly great for my way of focusing. But overall, it's certainly not Leica. Now my understanding is the Leica R version of this camera was kind of fine-tuned extra to the Minolta. So I'd like to think a Leica R camera would have more of the crisp precision feel that you're kind of getting from Leica because you want to buy Leica. If you bought this in a Leica store and it had Leica R4 on the front and you just fired off a couple of frames and checked the film advance, things like that, you'd probably put it back on the shelf. And then if you picked up an M3, it's like night and day, completely different. Obviously M3s are fantastic, so is an M2, and Barnack Leicas as well. Barnack Leicas are also very affordable, so don't rule those out if you just want a cheap Leica and you don't mind if it's an SLR or a rangefinder camera. Obviously Leica M cameras are now getting quite a bit more expensive. So first thoughts, not that impressed. I'd much prefer to have a Nikon FE2 for example, body wise. The lenses however are very good. I've used the lenses on my Leica CL and I've been really impressed with the sharpness. I'll do future reviews on that going forward. Does this mean every Minolta camera is rubbish and I'm like a fanboy? No. And I can tell you that because I have another Minolta camera. Now this is an even cheaper Minolta X300. Now there's no kind of relationship between Leica and Minolta for the X300, so it's not as relevant for this video. I got this free with the lens that I was purchasing, but I just wanted to share the fact that I absolutely love this camera. The screen's much better, it's really light and easy to use, and I actually prefer this to my Nikon FE2. Everything just works as I need it to, and I think it's the fact that it's so light and usable for focusing, the two things I really enjoy, and the lens is really light and great. Obviously I can change the lens. Means that I'm definitely not anti-Minolta, and I'm really enjoying the lens. So I'll maybe do a video of this in the future once I've managed to shoot some test photos. I just wanted to share that to show that I'm not all anti-Minolta and pro Leica camp only, because I'm not. If you want to see a better side-by-side comparison of a Leica versus Minolta, check out the Analog Insights video. I'll link it at the end. And they look at the Leica R4 versus the Minolta XE, which as I say is the iteration before the Minolta XD7 that I've got and the Leica R4. So that was just a quick video because I'm using these Minolta lenses kind of currently for my Leica photography, obviously adapted onto the Leica CL, but I thought it was quite topical that I never really talk about the Leica R series cameras. And as I say, this is the closest I've got. I'm not saying that I'll never get a Leica R camera, but I wasn't impressed with the Minolta version of the Leica R camera. It's worth pointing out that maybe I just had a bad copy. There's so many Minolta cameras on eBay, it'd be very easy to get like a bad version like you can with lenses. So maybe other people have got super crisp feeling Minoltas, and if so, let me know in the description. Do you have a crisp feeling Minolta XD7 or XD11? Or XE, but for me personally they feel just soft and a bit crappy, for want of a better word. And just to finish, a huge thanks to those of you who are supporting me on Patreon. I think we're up to 25 patrons after my first week, so massive thanks to you guys. I'm really enjoying making the different content for Patreon. So the way it looks like it's going to work in terms of it's evolving as we go forward is I'm going to stick to my gear reviews for YouTube, which is what you guys are probably here for, rather than to see me talking about something else. And then for Patreon, I'm going to show more kind of fun behind the scenes clips with models. It will show a bit of my lighting, it will show the camera I'm using on a weekly basis and the lenses I'm using on a weekly basis. It will show models on camera saying hello and that kind of thing, so you get to meet the models that are behind the pictures. I'll show the back of the camera LCD on model shoots, so again you'll see all the pictures rather than just seeing one or two on Flickr. You'll see like 300, and then you'll get to see my workflow. You'll see like the images obviously from start to finish. Maybe that'll help you think on how I work or what images I'm picking to show you and what images you never see, that kind of thing. So do feel free to come and join us on Patreon. As I've mentioned before, it costs less than a cup of coffee per month, so if you find that seeing more of me might inspire you to do more of your photography or try different lenses, or however it may benefit you, then come and join us for a month and see if you like it. So thanks for watching, and thanks to these amazing people who are my current patrons. See you again soon with more Leica content. Bye.